Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Feinstein, and I'm the Executive Director of NJ Leap, and I would like to welcome you all to what is hopefully our first and last virtual gala. I wanted to start by taking a moment to update you all on what we've been doing over the last 3 months. Starting in mid-March, we converted all of our content to online virtual programming. That included after-school and Saturday classes. In addition, this summer we're going to again be going virtual and have transitioned everything over to that format. This includes adding 75 new students to the NJ Leap community between our rising 6th graders and rising 9th graders. I want to say thank you to the entire NJ Leap staff, our board of trustees, and our students for getting through such a challenging and complicated time together. So tonight is a gala, and the purpose of any great gala is to do 3 things: to serve you a completely mediocre meal, which we're not going to do, to tell you some really compelling stories, which we are going to do, and to hopefully raise some money. That part's up to you. In the description section below, you'll find a link to donate throughout the course of this evening. In addition, there is a link to a silent auction that we're going to be hosting. All evening until 7:20 p.m., you have the chance to bid on some really terrific items, including lunches with many of the biggest general counsels in the business. Before I go any further, I want to also say a huge thank you. We've already raised a lot of money tonight, and none of that would have been possible without you all. We get it. We know that budgets are tight, that times are hard, and every single one of you had to make some really tough decisions about where you are going to invest your resources. To say that we are grateful would be an extraordinary understatement. Thank you all for supporting NJ Leap and supporting our work. I want to give you a quick overview of what tonight's event will look like. We're going to be starting off with some words from the chair of our board of trustees, Jerry Webman. After that, we'll be transitioning to an interview on leadership with Lucy Fado and Adonai Gordon. Next up, we'll be having our student speaker, Cheney Daddis, and finally, we'll be having some student speakers and their thank yous to NJ Leap. We promise all of this is going to happen in less than 25 minutes. Before I introduce Jerry, I wanted to take a moment to recognize how challenging the last few months have been. Between COVID-19 and the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, this has been a tough time for so many across the country and so many in our community. This has been an opportunity for us to reflect on who we are and who we want to be. We're very proud of all of the great work that we've done, but we also recognize that there's a lot more work to do. We've committed ourselves as an institution and as individuals to picking that work back up and pushing hard to do everything we can to support all of our students and their families. With that, I'm proud to introduce to you the chair of the NJ Leap Board of Trustees, Jerry Webman.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Webman, and I have the honor to chair NJ Leap's Board of Trustees. Thank you for joining us. Since our founding in 2006, NJ Leap has worked to tackle the barriers to educational achievement faced by students of color from economically disadvantaged communities. Under the guidance of our talented and skilled staff and our dedicated volunteers, our students have worked hard and accomplished great things. 100% of NJ Leap graduates have completed high school and gone on to college. 85% of those graduates are either currently enrolled in college or they've already graduated. We are all justifiably proud of those accomplishments. But the effects of racist policies on communities of color these last few months have reminded us that we all need to do more and we need to do better. As we acknowledged in our recent statement that's posted on the NJ Leap website, the recent murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, and the racial targeting of Christian Cooper are only the most recent and well-publicized cases of 400 years of state-supported violence against African Americans. In addition, the coronavirus's disparate impact on Black and Latinx communities, whose members have been on the front lines as essential workers in supermarkets, hospitals, and nursing homes, is further evidence of the racial injustice in our society. Plain and simple, Black lives matter. And as an organization, we recognize our obligation to condemn violence and discrimination against people of color wherever it occurs. For NJ Leap, the sudden transition to virtual learning due to COVID-19 has challenged our students' academic progress and will likely continue to affect their learning in the upcoming school year. A recent study estimates that students will return to school in the fall of 2020 with roughly 70% of a typical school year's learning gains in reading and less than 50% of typical gains in math. Our entire program team has been in constant contact with students and parents, many of whom are struggling with health issues, grief over lost loved ones, loss of income, internet issues, and food insecurity. Our team has been with them every step of the way to help our students and families deal with these issues and to help them connect with the resources available in the community. In less than 2 weeks, our staff will begin our virtual summer program, including more than 200 middle and high school students. We're also planning, as best we can, for in-person programming in the fall. Racism hurts everyone. We all have work to do, and that includes me and my colleagues who serve on NJ Leap's Board of Trustees. We need to educate ourselves individually and collectively. We need to use every opportunity to speak forcefully against racism and injustice wherever we encounter it. We need to increase representation of people of color on our engaged and dedicated board. And finally, we need to persist in those efforts once the media have turned their attention from recent troubling events in order to focus on whatever gets us to watch, listen, or click next. Racism has been part of the fabric of our society for 400 years. We won't meaningfully unravel the damage unless we all learn, confront, and ensure our work is rooted in anti-racist principles. I'm proud to support the work of NJ Leap, and I thank you for your commitment to our community.
Thank you so much to Jerry for those incredibly strong words and making clear exactly where NJ Leap and our Board of Trustees stands. Next up, I'm proud to introduce to you the General Counsel of AIG, Lucy Fado, and graduating NJ Leap senior, Adonai Gordon. We asked Lucy and Adonai to share a bit of a conversation they recently had about leadership, about diversity, and about navigating complex and uncertain times. With that, I'm proud to introduce Lucy and Adonai.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lucy Fado. I'm the General Counsel at AIG, and I hope you've been enjoying the event so far. At AIG, we have been a sponsor and supporter of NJ Leap for several years, and we really enjoy the time that we spend with the students when we bring them into our offices. And we're really delighted to be a sponsor of tonight's event.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adonai Gordon. I hope you're enjoying the gala so far. I'm going to be going to Rutgers, Newark, and I'll be interviewing Lucy Fado of AIG and what it takes to be a great leader. Can you tell me a bit about your career path and what advice would you give to your younger self?
My career's been kind of all over the place. It was very traditional, law firm, associate, make partner. And then once I went in-house, it just kind of turned into a lot of different things. But I'm really glad I did it. I have no regrets. I really love what I do. I do like being a lawyer. Advice that I give people all the time is to not think of your career as just linear and constantly moving up or being promoted, but being open to doing other things where sometimes it may be a lateral move, but it brings on a new skill set, or maybe you even take a step back sometimes, but you learn something new, and then that helps propel you to something else.
What was that thing that made you say, okay, I want to go through law. I want to go with law the full way, like no regrets. I want to go with law. What's so fascinating about law to you? What drives that aspect?
That's a great question. So there are a lot of ways as a lawyer you can help people on a pro bono basis, which means it's free. They don't have to pay for the advice. And a lot of people in my legal department like to do that. They like to take a few hours a week or a month to give back in some way. And that was another thing I liked about law school, is it was a way to help people and a way to help a lot of people in lots of different ways.
Is it something that you've ever experienced before, self-doubt? And if so,
Oh, yeah.
how do you deal with self-doubt?
I think when I experienced the most doubt, to be honest, was when I graduated law school and went to work at Davis Polk in New York, the law firm I worked at. It was very intimidating for me in the beginning because, and it was all self-imposed. No one was trying to intimidate me. It was all like coming from myself. But most of the people I worked with had gone to Ivy League schools, and I was from Pittsburgh. I was a child of immigrants. My parents never graduated high school. And so when I got there, I was like, oh my God, like, how did I ever get here? Like, there's a mistake somewhere and someone's going to figure it out. And when is that day going to come? Someone's going to come knock on my door and say, oh, we made a really bad mistake. We thought you were someone else who went to Harvard. But that never happened. And so those first couple years were really hard because I just assumed that all these people were smarter than I was. My starting class had about 75 people in it, and less than 10 of us eventually made partner, and I was one of them. And so when I think back to how insecure and how many doubts I had in those first couple of years out of those 75 people, and then I was one of 6 or 7 that actually made it through 8 or 9 years and became a partner, that was a big deal. The other thing to know is you don't always get things right. I mean, there's no right and wrong in most situations. There really isn't. I mean, there are always decision trees. Do I do it this way? Do I do it that way? Do I say this? Do I say that? Do I write the paper this way? Do I write it that way? And there's usually not a right answer. It's just what you decide you want to do and how you do it. And so our CEO, Brian Dupereau, once told me, this was years ago when we were at our other company, when he joined the company, I told him I was really happy he was there because he seemed to me to be someone who was very decisive, that he would make decisions. Like he wouldn't just think about it and think about it and think about it. Like he would actually make a decision and move on. And he said, well, that's my job as a CEO. I have to make decisions. And he said, I don't always make the right decisions. Nobody makes right decisions all the time. He said, but if I worried about always being perfect, I wouldn't make a decision. And not making a decision is worse than making a decision that maybe isn't completely right.
How do you lead during uncertainty? And what advice would you give students like me, seniors, in this current situation, or going off our first year to college?
This has obviously been, a really challenging situation. I think, many people have been through a lot of things over their lives, but I don't think there's anyone alive today who has seen anything like this global pandemic. And you have to be really, really flexible as a leader and make sure that people that you manage understand that it's okay if you can't participate in a call because your kid is doing distance learning and you have to help them with that. So I think first being very honest about the situation, showing flexibility, showing empathy and understanding that for some people it's harder than others. Everybody's kind of becoming united because we're fighting this common enemy. It's impacting everybody around the world. I think people have gotten to know each other in a different way. We've met people's families, seen their children more. So there are always, positive things that come out of crises. There goes one of my kids right now. What do you like to do outside of class, like extracurricular type stuff? Are there sports that you like or other things that you can do alongside your classes?
I fence. My mom was like, "Hey, like, you wanna do fencing?" Yeah, my mom definitely made sure that I had, when we came to America again, like we had all the cards laid out, and I just have to keep on picking from the deck to try to see what I really fall in love with.
Cool. It's so cool. I love it. See,
Yeah,
you already have something you're passionate about. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. But I'm curious from your perspective, what led you to it, and what have you gotten from the program?
It came knocking at the right time. I was in 8th grade. I knew what law was, but I didn't know what law was.
Right.
Yeah, and it was really interesting learning something different. It taught me how to, I guess, work on my writing skills and my public speaking skills. I kind of learned personal stuff too. I always learned that you should always be proactive about things. Things like in the working environment with the internships we had. When growing up in Brooklyn or in the Caribbean, like you don't normally go into that kind of aspect. You don't go into like that working environment. You don't dress up and go on an internship. And I was like, I could be here as well. Like this is definitely not far fetched. I could be in one of these seats. I could be in one of these positions. It really pushed me forward to saying, hey, like you really gotta lock down and really go into your studies and saying, hey, this is like where you need to be. This is where you could be. I've never really got that before, so that was really interesting. I think one of the biggest things I took away from this interview is that there's more than one way to go about life, and self doubt is only human nature.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I want to thank Adane Gordon for doing an excellent interview, one of the best interviews I've ever done. And it was really great to learn more about NJ Leap and the impact it has on high school kids. And I want to wish Adane the best of luck as he goes off to college. Congratulations to you, to all of your classmates, and to all the other NJ Leap participants who are graduating. While it's been a very extraordinary moment in time because of coronavirus, I think you're all going to thrive, and you're really the future that we need in this country. So best of luck to all of you. Try to have fun this summer, and enjoy your time in college.
Thank you so much to Lucy and Adonai for allowing us to capture and share some of your dialogue. The thing that is most striking to me is the fact that we have a senior in our program, a 17-year-old who's just recently graduated high school, so comfortably sitting and engaging with the general counsel of a major global corporation. That sense of belonging, that sense of comfort, that sense of connection is precisely what we seek to help our students develop over the course of their time in their program. I want to quickly take a moment to remind you all that our silent auction closes at 7:20. There is still time to donate. We'll be having a pledge moment at the end of this. Next up is candidly my favorite portion of the evening, this year's senior speaker, Cheney Dattis. Cheney is an extraordinary young woman with an even more compelling story. Take it away, Cheney.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me today at my favorite NJ Leap event. Everyone's story inspires someone, and I am grateful to share my story with you today. I was born and raised in Gonaïve, Haiti, and moved to the U.S. when I was 6. We moved a few times during our first few years, trying to find our home. My NJ Leap story begins when I moved back to Newark. I was always looking for an opportunity that would help me get into college, so I was open to anything. When I got into NJ Leap, it was a dream come true. I told my mom, I'm going to college. Since then, I have been a part of one of the greatest families out there. When I first joined NJ Leap, I was a nervous wreck. I was nervous about the impressions I would make and how I would be treated. I had a hard time shaking the feeling of not belonging. It might sound silly, but looking around at our orientation and seeing all of the new faces and all of the family members there to support their children gave me some sort of comfort. I knew I was going to be okay. At the end of the first summer, I remember talking to Miss A, and I had this overwhelming feeling like this person actually cares about me. She wants me to succeed. That feeling only grew. I realized I was capable of more, and my confidence started to grow. When I started constitutional law debate class sophomore year, my confidence took a major hit. I was in my head the whole time. Then I heard I was going to get an attorney mentor. I thought of the lawyers on TV, the people who were drowning in work. My mentor, Steph, really took me by surprise. She showed me that there was more to being a lawyer and what a mentor really meant. No matter how confused I was, she made the material seem so simple. She gave me hope and confidence I needed to help me through my first debate, where I won Best Brief my first time writing one. Thank you, Steph. During junior year, my mom and I were going to move to Ohio, but I convinced her to let me stay with my aunt to finish high school. I told her that NJ Leap would help me get into a good college. NJ Leap has shaped me to be the person I am today. They constantly told us we could do it and we were good enough. When I started the college application program, I felt like I did not have a story. I was not interesting and my grades were nothing but average. Senior year, we began the college application program. Spending the summer with Miss G, Mr. A, and Mr. Crawford was probably the best experience any LEAP student could ever have. They constantly told us we could do it and we were good enough. We individually and collectively as a class grew. In the fall though, all my fears came back. I padded my school list with safety schools until Ms. G pushed me out of my comfort zone and challenged me to go for it. In February, Ms. G and I visited Northeastern for my Torch Scholarship interview, which was first-generation college students a full scholarship for 4 years. Out of 500 applicants, only 13 are chosen. When I first finished the interview, I was really confident. But as time passed and I didn't hear from them, I started thinking the worst. A month later, I got an email asking me to do a Zoom call with someone there. I assumed they needed to ask me more questions. I got my notebook ready and my interview t-shirt, my NJ Leap shirt. Instead of questions, they told me I was going to be a Torch Scholar. I started to freak.
We are very excited to share some good news with you, which is we would like to offer you the Torch Scholarship.
Oh, wow, that was a big delay.
Sorry. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
But I was repeatedly telling them to wait. I couldn't believe it. I started to cry and I was a mess. I was crying for a while and then I got myself together and said, "Are you serious?" I ran around the house screaming, "I got into college!" I immediately FaceTimed Miss G and Mr. A and told them that I couldn't have done it without them. It was a big deal for me. To all my classmates, I am so proud of every single one of you. I am so grateful for being part of the NJ Leap community for the past 4 years, and I'm looking forward to what the future brings. Thank you for listening to my story and for supporting NJ Leap.
Thank you so much to Cheney for sharing your story. We're so proud of the fact that you have become a Torch Scholar. I also want to take a moment to recognize our other graduating seniors. You all deserve a lot better than a virtual gala. And I promise, when you graduate from college, you're going to get it. As I mentioned earlier, one of the 3 goals of any good gala is to raise money. Again, we are unbelievably grateful for the support you all have offered to NJ Leap so far. But our goal tonight is to go further. Our silent auction is now closed, and if you won that silent auction, you'll have received a text message. But we also have an anonymous donor who has agreed to match the first $10,000 in pledges this evening. As I said earlier, if you look into the description section below, you'll be able to find a link to donate. Every single dollar that you contribute to NJ Leap makes a difference. The NJ Leap community is growing, but none of our work is possible without your support. Please consider supporting today. Finally, the last thing, and as I promised, we're going to get this done in under 25 minutes. The last thing is to say thank you.
NJ Leap is like a family to me because the community is just like always there for you and loves me and always wants to support me in everything that I do. And I think that's just what a family means to me. Somebody who's always there for you no matter what and always wants to help you achieve your dreams and goals and will help you get there.
I could not have been the person that I am today without NJ Leap. And everything that I've been through during my time at NJ Leap, whether that be in NJ Leap or outside of NJ Leap, I've had support with them both through NJ Leap.
I would say my advice to my brother as he progresses through the program is to not just like do what's asked of you, kind of like step up and like stand out.
Talking about my journey to that point, I had already done, things that were way harder than I was doing at that point. Moved to a whole new country, learn a whole new language. So I guess just like helping me see the past, the things I've done in the past in order to get there, to get where I was. And, they just helped me, so like they just show me that, what's going on is not even close to what I did. So, it just gave me motivation to not stop, to not give up and just keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for supporting NJ Leap.